Hey everybody, thanks for joining us today. My name is Drew. I'm an admissions specialist at App Academy. I'm joined with Isaac. He is one of our alumni who's going to share some of his experience through the App Academy admissions process, the program, the job search, all that good stuff. And we'll also give you the chance to post some questions. And so I'm going to post a link to our Slido in the chat. Post your questions on there, and I'll be sure to ask Isaac, but I'll go ahead and turn off to him and let him introduce himself before we start asking questions.
Thanks so much, Drew. I'm super excited to be here. I jumped at the opportunity to talk to you all because the alumni panels were super helpful when I was going into and through App Academy. So a little bit about myself. My name is Isaac Owens. I am 30 something years old. I can't remember the math right now. And I was born in Germany. I was raised in Africa for a little while before coming to America. My mom was in the Air Force. So I was raised as an Air Force brat. I studied arts, so I have a background in dance. I went to college for dance, North Carolina School of the Arts. Then I dropped out of college and I went into some restaurant work and kind of went around trying to figure out what I wanted to do until I moved to New York. And after coming to New York, I started fitness and I joined a professional dance company. And I started a fitness company of my own where I had personal training clients. And I also was teaching group fitness classes around New York City. And up to the point where I got far enough in my business to realize I was kind of hitting a wall, that's when I started looking into coding because I wanted to give myself another challenge and make some more money and just kind of change my life. I was looking for a change in my life. So I started doing my research, came across App Academy, kickstarted the process, craziest 4, 6, maybe even 8 months of my life, the hardest thing I've ever done, and I would never regret doing it. It's the craziest and best thing I've ever done in my life. And that's it about me.
Then our other panelist, Margaret, just jumped in. Margaret, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for joining us today. If you just want to go into like a little introduction about yourself, a little bit about your background.
Sure. Yeah, my background, I'm from Chicago originally. I went to school at McGill University in Montreal, so did that for college, got a Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology. After that, I thought I might go into healthcare, so I became a medical scribe for a couple of years, started applying to PA schools, then decided that that it wasn't for me. In the process of applying for PA schools, I actually got a second bachelor's degree in pre-medical studies so that I could like wrap up some prereqs for that. But that kind of burnt me out on being in school. So like by the time I actually got halfway through my PA school applications, I was like, I do not like want to do another few years of this. I'd rather just, start joining the workforce. So I switched my sights to working in more like fitness. So my original degree was in kinesiology. I was like, all right, let's just get back to the roots. So yeah, I worked in a physical therapy office as an exercise specialist. I actually ended up working as their front desk receptionist after I got injured, and then they wouldn't let me be an exercise specialist. After I got over the injury, I went to working in corporate fitness. So did the whole like full-time group exercise, personal training all day long. And then switched to, or got promoted to being a program manager. And then, yeah, kind of similar to Isaac, I kind of feel like I plateaued within my industry. At this point, I was kind of, I don't know, already had been thinking about making a career change for a couple of years. And then the final nail in the coffin was that I had a disagreement with my manager at the time. And I was just like, you know what? I think this is a sign, like, let's try something else. And yeah, ended up enrolling in App Academy. And yeah, I totally second again what Isaac said is the best thing ever best thing I've ever done that I never want to do again. So yeah, that's what brings me here.
And Margaret, what led you to coding? Like, how'd you get involved with coding?
It was actually that an acquaintance of mine had gone through App Academy and like had a really good experience and was like, got a great job, got a great salary. And so that hearing about his experience is what planted the idea in my mind. And so when I mentioned I had kind of been thinking about making the switch for a couple of years, I was like, well, I would love to do this, but I don't know, like, if I'm really ready to take the plunge and quit my job. So instead, I was like, all right, let me just dabble online and take some like free online courses. And then eventually, I actually found the App Academy free course and started doing that. Thought I would just do it that way, but I need TA help and a little more accountability than that.
Absolutely. Isaac, what got you into coding?
So around the time that I decided to switch careers, I actually had a dance injury that put me down for 2 weeks, and I couldn't make any money, and I was out of rehearsal, and it was just a bad feeling of realizing that my livelihood was tied to my body, and my body was not going to serve me for the rest of my life. So I started getting really serious about what I wanted started getting serious about thinking about what I wanted out of life. And I knew that part of what I needed was something that felt intellectually stimulating and also made me a lot of money. So I narrowed it down to a few categories, and medical and tech were the two that kept coming up. And medical is really expensive and has a really, I don't know how to put it, a really hard point of entry to get into that field in a lot of ways. And tech is way more accessible in the research that I was doing. And some years back, when I first moved to New York, I met someone that was going through a boot camp, and I was talking to him about it. And I remember that sort of getting stored in my subconscious. And as I was studying tech jobs, software engineering kept coming up. And I started going down the rabbit hole and sort of searching and asking questions. And it led me to boot camp as a concept. And then I thought to myself, oh, that's awesome. I can do a boot camp, but I don't have $17,000. I don't have $24,000 to get into a boot camp if I did get in. And App Academy popped up in my research, and it was a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer. And that was it for me. I got bit by the bug, and I've been addicted to code since.
The coding bug got you, huh? Well, I got a question posted in our Slido from one of our attendees. And if you guys have any questions, if you go to the chat, there's a link to our Slido. Post those questions there, and I'll be sure to ask the panelists. But Isaac, what do you wish you knew before you started the program, if anything?
What did I wish I knew before I started the program? I wish I knew how important time management really was going to be, really. Because I did a lot of prep before the boot camp because I was a nervous wreck that I was going to drop out of it or get kicked out of it. So I probably over prepared. So a lot like Margaret, I did a lot of free courses, started on my phone. I actually got myself a GitHub, but before I even knew what GitHub was, I was just a blind kid stumbling around the candy stores, doing whatever I could that was about code and consuming very greedily. Then you get into the boot camp, and it's this really regimented schedule that you have to stick to. And they don't call it boot camp for no reason. You don't stick to that schedule, you're going to struggle, you're going to get kicked out. So yeah, time management is a major concept that I can't stress enough, that I wish I knew.
Margaret, was there anything you wish you knew before the boot camp started?
Gosh, I think I would say like something along the lines of like you can get through it. I spent a lot of time with like a lot of doubt around it. When I like first enrolled, I was like telling all my friends and family like, oh, I'm going to be moving to San Francisco. I'm going to do this thing. And they were like, oh my gosh. And I would always kind of like add a qualifier, like, well, if I get through, like, oh, if like this and that. And definitely like just had a ton of doubts around like, whether I could do it without like, a real like background in tech. And so I think like, advice that I could give from this is like, if you're thinking about it, if you're interested in it, like the pieces are in place so that you can be successful. It's not worth like putting it off just because you're unsure about like, oh, can I do this? Yeah, I'd say that.
And how did you set up your schedule while you're in the course?
So I started out, so since I had just moved to San Francisco from Chicago, like a day before our in-person classes started, I like started out on Chicago time. So I would like wake up super early and I was like, oh, I'll do some like home workouts and like, you know, be fresh for the day. But that didn't last very long. Once I adjusted to the time, basically, I realized that I needed to make some compromises in my schedule. And so basically just like, I was like, all right, I might not have time to work out anymore, but like, I'm going to make sure that I'm getting my 8 hours of sleep, that I'm eating really well. Like, let me figure out what like is going to be the like most important thing to me, so that my brain is working properly. But yeah, so basically mine, I lived really close to where classes were, and I did that on purpose, so that I like wouldn't have a long commute time. Again, focusing on getting enough sleep. I guess like remote, that's a benefit. You don't have to worry about that. But yeah, so basically went to class each day. After class, I would go right home, eat my dinner, continue with studying and homework pretty much until I went to bed. And then I would take like a break on weekends. So usually like Friday night, I would just like take it easy after class and not really worry about like studying and anything. And then pick up back again on like a Saturday afternoon, and pretty much focus mostly on studying for like Saturday afternoon and then Sunday as well. So yeah.
Isaac, how'd you set up your schedule?
Okay, buckle up. I am very type A. I'm extremely type A. And I had a friend who moved to New York for us to go through the in-person together, and the in-person got canceled because I started my cohort right at the beginning of the pandemic. So he actually moved in with me and a few people that I was living with, and he had his own room. So we got through the course together in person, he and I, but we were quarantined. So our whole cohort became remote. We all became virtual. So our schedule was on the weekend, we would food prep for the entire week, and we would make all of our food. So we had our lunches and our dinners prepared, and it was healthy, and we would have spent out health-wise, and it was budgeted too. Then every morning we would wake up and do a little yoga or try to do some kind of stretching, which was our wake up routine. It was good to have that ritual. And then we would do our studies, make sure to take regular breaks, make sure you're drinking water. And in the evening, we would set a timer for our homework so we didn't stay up till 2 or 3 doing your assignment for the next day. So we would set a timer, try to do it as fast as we could, and just kind of leave it at that if we didn't get it. And the next day we would just ask questions. So never stay up for your homework. Do your homework. Do not lose sleep for your homework. Trust me. We would do that day to day. And then on Friday night, we actually started doing some communal things virtually. So we would do happy hour, we would play games, or we would do like a karaoke, which was horrible because the timing for karaoke and YouTube and Zoom, it's just a mess, but it was great. It was really fun for us. And that was kind of our week to week reality. And over the weekends, we would study for assessments and get ready for assessments. But all of our free time, we were studying or doing something that had to do with studying. There was really no downtime. We would take lunches together, but outside of that, it was just getting ready for assessments and studying. Still very fun, but that's it. That's your life.
And Isaac, what was the remote experience like taking classes completely online?
Yes. I was telling you this, Drew. Initially, I wanted to be online, but because I live in New York City, I had to do the in-person. So going to online, or expecting to have gone to the online before I knew I was going to be in person, I actually went through the online App Academy curriculum to see what was taught. And I just went through the rubric and clicked on random links and watched like random videos about Facebook unveiling React. I have no idea what React is, but I watched the video anyway, because why not? And I just kind of got myself familiar with the online stuff. So when we went online, I recognized that the curriculum was generally the same. And the online experience, I would say, it's really strange because you're literally spending all day with these people on Zoom from sun up to sundown. So you really get to know these people in some kind of way. It becomes a real community and a real relationship. And we made sure to get together in person after the quarantines lifted and everything. We got together at the park and we all met, and it was amazing. It felt like we knew each other just like if it was in person. We were so comfortable. Yeah.
That's awesome. Margaret, what were your instructors like?
They were amazing. I think that, you know, that's definitely something that App Academy does really well is picking instructors and TAs that are really passionate about, I hate saying the word passionate, I feel like it's so overused, but I really mean it here, that are really passionate about not like the material, but also just like making sure that everyone feels like really supported, and like the most patient people, honestly. Like we asked just so many questions, especially like toward the end of the course when we're kind of like let loose to do your full stack project. And like we would basically like corner the RTA and like be like, all right, we have 800 questions. Like, please help us. And like they never seemed annoyed, like never felt like I never felt like rushed, like as they were explaining something to me. Like, yeah, I don't know how they find these people. But yeah, and like I'm still friends, like still keep in contact with the TAs that were, you know, that led me through. So I think that's saying something.
Yeah, absolutely. Isaac, what were your instructors like?
I stand to say that I probably had the coolest instructors in the history of all of App Academy. At least that's what it felt like, because they were like your big brothers and sisters through the whole thing. We came to have our favorites, and they were like our mascots. And we even broke up into teams at some point, and it was all fun, you know, fun competition. But same as what Margaret was saying, some of the most patient and thorough people I've ever come across in any place that I've worked. And I've had a lot of jobs. I've done a lot of weird stuff in New York City. And the TAs, they just really know the importance of good teaching, especially in this scenario, because you're coming in, a lot of us are coming into App Academy without having paid our tuition. So it really is App Academy's job to make sure that we can pay them back. So the people that they're making TAs, they're really ensuring that they know how to teach and get you engaged in the lessons. So utilize that. I mean, drink it up, like out of a fire hydrant. Ask as many questions as you can. They used to organize get-togethers over the weekend and office space or office time and office spaces kind of virtually for us. And they were more than willing to do that. It's never an imposition. They expect that out of you. So yes, get into those TAs. They're great people and even better teachers.
And what's all the different ways you can get support besides just like asking questions maybe in class? Are there like office hours you can schedule, or like what's different ways you can reach out if you need help?
You want to take that one, Margaret, and then I'll follow you up.
Besides asking questions in class, there were office hours, I believe, but I don't think I ever took advantage of them. So I don't know if I can speak too much to it. Yeah, actually, though, yeah, that is true. They had some people coming on weekends, especially before like the big assessments, to go over stuff. But yeah, I'm kind of blanking on additional.
I would say some of the best ways to get help is, of course, asking as many questions. There's no dumb questions. Ask all the questions. Organize stuff for yourselves on the weekend if you're virtual. The weekend's a little different if you're not in person, because those 2 days can really make or break you when it's time to jump back into the week and kind of get back into the digitalness of it all. So you should still rest on the weekends, but some TAs are more than willing to extend their help and help you organize a study group into the weekend. And they'll tell you, make sure to emphasize this, this, and that. They'll give you ideas on how to study together and utilize each other too. It's not just about the TAs teaching you, but if you really make it a community thing, you're trying to teach your peers will help you learn it better. So studying together is good because it forces you to explain things, to reiterate things, and you're only going to be as strong in that study session as the person that doesn't get it the most. So catering to that person is how you teach yourself and reiterate all that knowledge. So I guess to add to your answer, Margaret, ask those questions, utilize the TAs, and realize that you should utilize each other as a community. You got to build that.
Yeah, one thing I've heard a lot of alumni say is like, go seek help. Like there's help for you. Don't ever think there's like a question you shouldn't ask. If you get stuck, like go get help, because it's there to help you get with whatever you're stuck on. I get asked this question a lot, so I think it's a good one. Margaret, there are more languages taught at AA compared to other schools, like say only JavaScript, React. Do you feel you got a good depth of each language from App Academy? So since we teach more languages than other boot camps do, like how in depth do we go into those different programming languages?
So as far as like App Academy goes and the education that you're getting, it's very practical knowledge. So you're going to learn, how to write in the language, like you'll get comfortable doing algorithms. But at the end of the day, like what you're walking away from at the end of the course is not only do you know how to like, I don't know, set up a for loop or like, about data structures, but you can actually build a functioning app using these languages. And so I think that, it's a great benefit learning both like a front end and a back end, and learning how to interact with like SQL and database querying. That is like so valuable. And especially when you get to your job search, I mean, that just like opens up so many more doors for you in terms of like, what jobs you can apply to. And being able to say that I built a full stack app, a functioning full stack app by myself, not in a group like with others. I mean, there is a group project as well, but I know there are some other competing boot camps that only do group projects. And that's something that I really used to set myself apart. Like when I was going through the interview process, is like really focus on like, I know how this app works, and like I built it from back to front end. I started with a blank folder with nothing in it, and was able to use like this language, that language, this framework, in order to, build something that here you can interact with it. So yeah, I think it was like really the perfect amount, honestly. And yeah, like it was just, yeah, a really good foundation, in terms of like, kicking off into the real world of software engineering.
Isaac, you anything you want to add to that?
Same question.
Yeah, sure.
I would say my question sort of lands on both sides of yes and no, that it is deep and it is not deep. Every language you can go so deep on. There's people that master these languages and they're still figuring stuff out about that language and how it morphs and things. So I would say that we go deep in the sense of the concepts of what a coding language is and what that abstraction means, the concepts that you're playing with. We go deep in that way with every language, but syntactically and what you're going to be learning in that language's sphere may not be as deep as maybe, let's say you're a JavaScript developer and you're doing JavaScript all the time, all day. Then you're going to go very deep on JavaScript, but you'll have a head start because you've seen JavaScript. You'll have a head start because you've seen SQL, you've seen React. So yeah, I guess that's my really weird and complicated answer. Yes and no. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I'm getting some job search questions, and so let's get into the job search, because I know that's always something people want to hear about. What was your career coach like, Isaac?
My career coach was awesome. He was really laid back like me, so it was easy and breezy, which is the way I like it. And we really vibed. I'm older, so a lot of the people in my cohort were in their young 20s, and I think in some cases maybe even like teenagers that came from high school and decided to just jump into it. But I'm already in my 30s, so I feel like I've had a couple of careers. So for me, the stakes felt a little higher because I'm like, if I don't make this work, I'm running out of options, you know. So my career coach really understood that. And he really treated me like an adult and spoke to me like an adult, which was very, very great. I appreciated the respect that my career coach gave me and the room that they gave me to be creative with my job search and encouraging that. It was Colin Bradley, by the way, was mine.
Margaret, how was your career coach?
She's awesome. I'm still in contact with her as well. So, but I would say she's a very loud and positive personality, but also has a very good dose of like tough love. Like she, will not beat around the bush if like, I don't know, say if you're doing like a mock interview and she's like, don't say that. Like this makes you sound like this. Like let's rephrase it. Let's talk it this way. So I really appreciated that because it worked for like my communication in terms of like what I need to hear in order to like, take everything to heart. But yeah, also just like so incredibly available. Like she gave out her cell phone number. She was like, I don't care if you get like, I think she told us a story about like someone who got a job offer that came in on like New Year's Eve once. And she was like, I was on the phone with that person. Like we were talking about negotiations. So like super available for my, like we focused more with her. It was more on like behavioral stuff. So like how to interview, how to like write the cover letter, things like that. But then, when I had my first tech interview scheduled, it was like bing, bang, boom. She's like, I scheduled a mock tech interview with you with the technical coach. It's going to be tomorrow. Like everything was just like set, like done. I was like, all right, this is amazing. So yeah, just honestly, like really great experience with her as well.
And can you share like what all type of support you get during that career search phase?
Yeah. So for us, we had weekly stand-ups. Like basically, it's not like a one-to-one. So like she is overseeing maybe like, I don't know, 10 people that are also job searching at the same time that are assigned with her. So we would have weekly stand-ups where we would just check in and kind of talk about like, what went well that week, what went not so well. And yeah, so we had that. I also personally took advantage of my cohort mates a lot. I moved in after I graduated from App Academy. I moved in with a handful of other people who graduated with me. So honestly, it was like a really a good environment, but also like we're all Javas. We're all like really like in it, like keeping each other accountable. So a little bit stressful at times. So that's where I said like, but honestly, like amazing in that we all agreed that like we shared in a Excel sheet, like everywhere that you found a job that we can apply to, like we shared it with each other, which made it a lot easier. Like anytime, like any of us got beyond just the initial application, we shared that. We let each other know how it went. Like if we got like a take home assignment or anything like that. So we like were very in very close contact about our job search, which I think was like very key. And I recommend that to anyone that goes through App Academy is like stay in touch with your cohort mates after. And yeah, besides, can't think of anything else right now. No. Okay, sorry, nothing else.
No,
Isaac,
that's
yeah,
great.
go ahead.
Answer the same one. Okay. So for the online, we had a lot of lectures, and it was like our curriculum sort of shifted. So it was a continued curriculum, but it was a little more lax, where we would talk about concepts and maybe you would practice those concepts that day with a partner, or you'd work on your project, or you'd do some resume stuff. So it was a really sort of laxer feeling curriculum, but you still were learning things. And the quality of the videos and the lessons were really, really great. There was a lot of talk about presentation and being eloquent and how you dress and present yourself, down to resume analysis and how to really build a good resume and what people look for in a resume and hot words and all these things you're going to come across when you might want to get help on a resume and know what to look for if you're going to pay somebody to help you with a resume. All these things in great detail. And yeah, I can't stress it enough. Like Margaret said, you have to stay friends with your cohort mates, stay friends with your TAs. This is your foot in the door. That's your community. Honestly, that's one of the reasons I did the boot camp. Of course, the curriculum was going to be great, but I knew the job curriculum was high quality. And that's what sold it for me. It was hearing the alumni talk about how great the efforts were for getting you a job afterward and not just letting you out to the wind. So again, you have all these resources just spewing out of this fire hydrant. Put your mouth to the hydrant and drink. Use it because it's good stuff.
How many applications would you send out per week, Isaac?
My per week?
Yeah, in general, if you can remember.
I think per week I did about 25 to 50 if I could, with about 5% of those being quality resumes and the rest of them kind of being throwaways, like the quick apply. Yeah. So overall, I think I probably did upwards of 400 to 500 resumes total easily, which is insane to think.
And so like when you'd apply for jobs, you said some you'd really focus on and then some you would just kind of quick apply. How would you look for jobs that you wanted to really focus on?
Yeah, that's a great question. There are websites that'll help you with this. There is a website called keyvalues.com. And instead of searching for a job based on your skills, you search for a job based on your values. You search for a job based on good work-life balance, or how do they handle failure? What is the community like? And that's a really great one because it really helps you get focused on the things around the job, not just the salary and what you're going to be doing day to day, but what will generally be your reality. Because a lot of us are going to spend our time at our job generally more than we do at home in some ways. So it was a really important decision to make. So I utilized that. And also I focused on where I wanted my quality resumes to go. I saw my job search like a garden. Okay. And the quick applies were like scattering seeds, and maybe something will catch and grow and maybe it won't. But then sometimes you want to plant a flower and it takes a little more attention and cultivating and a little more watering and that follow up. And I knew when I had my hands on a flower, if I had talked to a person about that job, because that's your end. The relationships that you start, that's what's going to get you into jobs. And those are the ones you really cultivate. And if you don't know a person at that company, you're kind of scattering seeds and hoping for the best, which is why we're telling you, stay friends with your TAs and your cohort mates.
It sounds like it's important to network at App Academy. Margaret, how would you go about like picking like which companies you want to apply for?
So I started out with like just some list I found online that was like great career launching companies for like software engineers, something like that. And so I was kind of using that to guide me, but I'll be honest, I became far less picky very quickly. My job search started like I graduated in February 2020. My job search really started in like March 2020 when another big thing happened and a lot of companies started pausing their hiring. So honestly, it became a lot more scarce. And that's when I was like, you know what, like I'm going to apply first, think later. But my, like in general, I still strayed away as much as possible from like the quick apply stuff. Like my big thing is if I can find the job, like even if I find the job on like LinkedIn or like Indeed or something like that, I still go to the company website and look under their jobs page and apply through there, which may or may not help. I think it helps. Like at least, you know, in my mind, there's like different stacks, like not just like one big stack of applications. So yeah, I pretty much always went that route. Like I always included a cover letter. Like, yes, I had my generic one where I would just change like a few keywords in there, like try to make it match with the job description. But yeah, like I said, I wasn't very picky. And in terms of like how I was sharing with my roommates, like we had that Excel sheet, like every single day, like one person got all of the jobs from LinkedIn, like that applied to, new entry-level bootcamp grads. Like everyone got all of the jobs from AngelList. Someone got all of the jobs from Indeed. So like we weren't missing anything. And so basically I would just work my way through like that and apply to as many as possible. Like as far as my number of applications, we had we had like a point system. I don't know if Isaac had that as well, where we had to apply to, like, I think it started out at like 15 to 20 per week, and then like after a few weeks of that it got bumped up to 40 per week. So I was hitting 40 for like a bit, and then I was like, all right, I'm just gonna like just do as many as I have time for. So yeah, that was my strategy. And it worked out. I ended up applying to like around 300. I want to say it was like 320. Applying to 320 jobs. Yeah, I don't have my stats, but I can probably like pull them up if you really want to know about.
I think the average is like 400, 450, something like that.
Yeah,
I think from our graduates. That's great to hear. Isaac, I got another question for you about schedule. What does your schedule look like during the job search? Were you able to study during the job search?
Oh my God, my schedule was a mess during the job search. I thought I was going to go into it being all regimented and like really hardcore into it. And then I think it was my career coach, Colin, he said, this is the time where you're supposed to be taking it easy. Don't bring that boot camp energy into your job search. Don't do that, because you're not going to be a relaxed person. You're probably not your best person when you're going through the boot camp, all that cortisol and stress running through your system. So take some time to process that, then start your job search. So I was actually quite lazy through my job search. I know 400 to 500 applications sounds like I was really hitting it hard, but I just took 2 to 3 months of sleep and fiddling with my projects, and they're still not done. And I still got a job. And then I hit the job search. And a little tip, whenever App Academy sends you something when you're on the job search, do it, fill it out, because that's how I got my job. It wasn't the applications, it was the little emails they send you where they say, we've been in contact with this company and told them we have a fresh batch of applicants. If you want to apply. Always do those, because you're already vouched for. You have a coding bootcamp that's saying this person is quality. That gives you a big toe in the door. And the rest is the work. The rest is yours. The rest of the foot is yours. So snatch every opportunity. It doesn't matter where it is coming from. Just do it all.
Did you keep studying during the job search? Like, do you keep like improving your craft and all that?
I just kept building stuff. I hate studying. I hate studying. I'm a college dropout, so I hate studying, and I hate school. It took me pains to get through the boot camp. But no, I didn't study. I wanted experience. I knew that when I was doing my interviews and talking about code with people, I wasn't going to tell them what I was studying. I was going to tell them what I knew as experience. So I just kept doing projects and building stuff so I can sound like a coder, because I was making myself a coder, and I could talk the lingo, and I talked to all my friends about what they were making. And through that, of course, you study, because you're going to have a lot of things you run into you don't know how to do, and you'll teach yourself how to do it, which is in some ways better than a textbook could ever teach you how to do it. So again, to answer your question, yes and no.
No, that's great to hear. Well, I'm sure the job search, you get told a lot of no's. And so you probably have to be able to deal with rejection. Margaret, how did you deal with rejection during the job search phase?
Yeah, I mean, once again, leaned on my roommates and cohort mates a lot. We honestly, we kind of made a joke out of it. Like, where like if someone got rejected, we're like, hell yeah. Like, we would celebrate. It's at first it stung a bit, especially the first time you get past the initial phase or two of an interview process, and you're like, oh my gosh, is this really going to happen? And then you get rejected. Like that definitely stings. But I mean, pretty quickly, like you learn to change your mindset, and you're just like, each failure is just like another step closer to like, getting the real thing, getting that real offer. Yeah, I I don't have much like advice beyond that. Just know ahead of time that it is going to happen, and it's going to happen a lot. So just like, yeah, it's part of the process. And of course, like now in hindsight, like you also just have to trust, like once you're on the other side, everything will make so much more sense. You're like, oh, like honestly, like why was I like worried so much about that job? Like that job would have been boring, like, so yeah, it all works out.
Isaac, how'd you deal with rejection?
Absolutely. Everything you just said is 100% true. There's this sting at the beginning, and you get over that pretty quickly. I treated my job search more experimentally. So every rejection was a little bit of data, and then I would tweak something before I did my next application and see what bait was the best one that was getting the hooks. And it wasn't until I put my volunteer experience, a group of us, I think from the cohort, and maybe some alumni volunteered for this organization called Tutoria, which is a website that helps people find English tutors. So it's for like immigrants and people that speak English as a second language. It hooks them up with tutors locally. We volunteered for that so that we could put that on our resume as work experience and volunteer experience. And it wasn't until I started pushing that up that I noticed that people were paying attention to me. So all those rejections are great because it was showing me what wasn't working. And it just kept pushing me towards, okay, you're getting closer, you're getting closer. I still get rejection letters, by the way. I'll be sitting at work and I get a rejection letter from something 4 months ago and I just giggle and delete it. So yeah, rejection is part of the game, but also what's part of the game is getting a dope ass job. So play the game.
Exactly. That's awesome to hear. Well, cool. Well, it looks like we're at time. So before we get out of here, is there just any one piece of advice you could give to an incoming student? And Margaret, we can start with you if you'd like.
I mean, so I actually have like a couple of pieces of advice that I stole when I was going through the interview process. Like each of my interviewers, I was like, all right, what advice do you have for me? And then it worked out well for me. So I just tell that to all prospective students as well. One is take breaks. Like you are not, yes, it's a boot camp, but you're not going to be working 24/7. Like you're not working yourself to the bone. It's okay to take breaks. Two, utilize the TAs. If you're stuck for more than 10 minutes, ask the TA. Like it's not a problem. Yes, pride gets in the way sometimes, but try not to let that happen. And three is, I think I've reiterated this a lot, but make friends. Like that is something that when going into it, I was like, well, there goes my social life for the next 4 months. And like, I was very pleasantly surprised that actually like it improved because I met all these awesome people and you're going through the struggle together. Like there's nothing like it. So yeah, those are my 3 pieces of advice.
Yeah, those are great. Isaac.
Yeah, that's great advice. Please take care of your bodies, please. Oh, I can't stress that enough. You're going to be sitting a lot. You're going to be at screens a lot. Take a break, look out the window, look at something far away. Yeah, it's super important. It's what's going to carry you through the boot camp. And I will also reiterate something you said, Margaret. People over process. It's really about the people. You're going to be pair programming with your cohort mates every single day. And if you're being a jerk, nobody's going to want to learn with you. You're not going to learn anything and it's going to suck. So be friendly and just like realize you all are in it together and you're there to not know stuff. You're going to feel stupid. That's great. When you feel stupid, you're on the edge of being a genius. Look for stupid. That would be my advice. Look for stupid. Build something you don't know how to build. Or I remember me and a few of my friends I got very close with in the cohort. We hosted a hackathon one weekend and we just made server bots for Discord. And we all paired up with alumni that had already been from the course because somebody's brother had gone through the course and he knew some people. So alumni came in and we paired up with alumni. We learned about JavaScript in the first 2 months or like the first month of the course. Nobody else had even touched it. And that's kind of a stupid decision to make. You know, you have this whole course load and then you're going to host a hackathon, but look for stupid. If you feel stupid, you're doing it right. Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing that advice. That's really great. And I appreciate both of y'all sharing your time and sharing your experiences tonight. It's been awesome listening to your stories and answering those questions. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I appreciate everybody joining us today. Thanks so much for your time. Hopefully, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. There's a lot of our alumni on LinkedIn. And so if you ever want to reach out to an alumni, that's a great place to go to. But again, thanks everybody for joining us tonight, and hope everyone has a great evening. And see everybody later. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Drew. Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good luck to everyone.
Bye.